So hello and welcome to Default Profitable, the show where we dive deep into real strategies behind starting, building, and running a consistently profitable business. Whether you're a founder, a leader, or just starting to dream big, this podcast can be a toolkit to help your profit be default rather than just luck. I'm your host, Matt Nettleton, and today my guest is Rachel Firestone Mohammad. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
No problem. So you have a restaurant in Noblesville that happens to be my wife and I's favorite restaurant, which is how we got here. But
thank you.
But before we jump into the business side of it, why don't you just kind of introduce yourself to the people that are listening?
Yes. So I'm Rachel. My husband, Chef Samir, and I own and operate 9th Street Bistro in Noblesville. I grew up in Lafayette, so I am a Hoosier, and actually went to school at IU, so actually a Hoosier there too. And after graduating college, like many of us, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with my life, and I started working at a nonprofit organization in the camping world for summer camps. And then that led me to a job out in Colorado working at a tech startup that made software for summer camps. And then I met and fell in love with a chef, and my career path made a sharp turn. and then many years later, here I am, a restaurateur.
So is this the first restaurant you guys have had?
So this is the first restaurant that we've had on our own.
Okay.
When I met Samir, he has been chefing for his entire life.
Right.
And so he was actually about to help open a restaurant. So I was kind of on board for helping that first restaurant. That was up in Breckenridge, Colorado. Then we helped another woman open a second restaurant in Colorado that was in Aurora, just outside of Denver. And at that restaurant, we realized that we could do this ourselves. And I had been wanting to get closer to my family in Indiana. So we made the leap. And so this is the first one that we own together, just us.
All right. So you're out in Colorado. You're kind of a little bit homesick. You're hoping somebody else open a restaurant. And you just decide, let's go back to Indiana and do it ourselves.
Yes. Yeah. That was a big leap of faith, I guess.
Big leap of faith.
Yes.
So one of the things we talk about with all these business owners is, there's three things that you should have when you start a business. You got to have 6 months of savings. You got to have a clear, well-written strategy and plan. And you have to have a clear understanding of what people will pay for. So of those three, how did you do?
What did I have?
Yeah.
Let's see. We had a little bit of savings. We had written several business plans.
Okay.
And had tested, I guess, similar markets. But we were coming into Noblesville completely blind. In fact, when we started, is there background noise on my end? Are you okay?
No, we're good.
Okay. When we started dreaming of opening a restaurant in Indiana, we actually got on Craigslist and found a listing for a turnkey restaurant in Carmel. And we booked a flight to go see it. We'd reached out to the broker. And then the day before our flight, the broker reached out to say, hey, it's under contract with somebody else.
Oh.
And so we said, well, hey, we're going to come visit Indiana anyway. And while we were there, we started looking around and met with a different broker, and then actually we didn't get to come inside the restaurant that we're in right now that first visit, but we got to look in from outside, and immediately we were drawn to the space, and kind of it just felt right. But growing up in Lafayette, I didn't know much about Noblesville. We would drive through it on our way to go see concerts at Deer Creek when I was growing up.
In the middle,
was about it.
Yeah, Deer Creek in the middle of nowhere. Yeah.
Yes, it was a cornfield there, but traffic would back up on 32 like it still does.
Yes.
Although Mayor Jensen's working on that. so,
Had to throw that
so we
in.
weren't, yeah, we weren't quite sure what to expect when we decided to move to Noblesville, but um, we signed a 3-year lease with 2 3-year options.
Okay.
And so we were like, well, we can do anything for 3 years. We can figure it out. And actually, just this week, we signed the addendum to go ahead with that second 3-year option. So we'll be coming up on 9 years at the end of that lease.
All right. So I guess let's start with the basic. You were doing a whole bunch of other stuff and got sucked into this life by your husband.
Yes.
Um, when
Yep.
you think about starting a restaurant, well, when you think about starting a business, there's like
Mhm.
2 ends of the spectrum. One end is, hey, I love this. I'm going to figure out how to do it, and then I'll figure out if I can make
Mhm.
money. And then the other
Right.
end is, there's a lot of money to be made here. I think I can do this. I guess
Mhm.
where did you fall on that spectrum?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit in between because I had always been passionate about food and drinks and hospitality. And so it was an easy leap to jump into this industry, this world. And then with my background, so I have a degree in arts administration, nonprofit management, spent some time in, in that world. And so I know a little bit about a lot of things, and that I think is really helpful
Yes.
in terms of, I know a little bit about marketing. I can do some accounting. I am organized. I can do the admin stuff. And so I've learned so much since starting this business, but I had a little bit of a baseline there. And then when we were looking at Indiana, we didn't quite want to be in downtown Indianapolis where all the trendy, hot restaurants are. We had kind of already figured out that we do better in a smaller community. And then, of course, Hamilton County is one of the wealthiest counties.
Yeah.
So it was kind of easy to say, okay, if we build our business here, there's money around and people have to eat. So
Yes.
let's try it out.
Um, but most people, when they think about money around in Hamilton County and like your restaurant's not Chili's, it's a
Right.
totally different experience.
Yep.
Um, Noblesville isn't where people put that.
Right.
So was it just the space
Um,
that you loved?
Yeah, it was the space for sure. And then there's something about kind of paving the way, I guess. When we looked at the space, the lot directly across the street was a giant hole.
Yes.
And now it is a multi use Levinson building, with apartments and storefront. And so we saw that there was progress happening. In this town, in this small town, but it still had the cute charm, the vibe that we love so dearly. And so that felt like a really great opportunity to be in this place that's kind of on the brink of blowing up, but clearly there's still a lot of respect for the architecture here and the history that we have in Noblesville.
Yeah. All right. So those were all the easy questions. Let's talk about, obviously you had eaten in restaurants before and you had started
Yes.
restaurants before. What are some of the things that you had to learn when you started your own restaurant that you didn't expect?
Oh my God. So much. Well, with our timing specifically, we signed our lease. We took over the space January 1st, 2020. We did a 3-month remodel. We were sending out our soft opening invites to happen the first weekend of April. And then mid March is when the pandemic hit and everything shut down. So actually, when we first, when we were still living in Colorado, and we first said, do we want to do this? Can we do this? Are we going to do this? We said we have to stay flexible no matter what. If we don't get the menu right the first go, if it's not quite the right market, we'll have to stay flexible. We'll have to shift. And not to say that, we would ever completely change who we are. I think that's an important thing to know the difference between having a specific identity and vision, but still being able to change in ways that make sense for your business.
Yeah.
So we got tested early. um,
Wait,
we Yeah, we learned a lot in that first year. So we hadn't hired any staff at that point. So our overhead was minimal. In fact, we didn't pay ourselves at all that first year. And so we needed to come up with some kind of revenue. And so we created our supper club of ready to heat dishes. And I think because my partner is somebody that has so much experience in the world of restaurant industry, he has been a chef in nearly every kind of restaurant or food operation that exists,
Yeah.
and so he had a lot of experience in maybe making a large batch of something, holding it so it's not overcooked when it gets reheated, that kind of thing. So our skills really aligned to be able to succeed.
And so you set up the supper club. How long did that last?
So we did that for an entire year and a half.
Oof.
So that first year when the pandemic hit, one thing that the city of Noblesville offered was a free space at the farmers market for anybody who, downtown business who needed it. And so we would make our ready to heat meals, put them in the cooler, drag the cooler out to the farmers market, set up our little booth, stand there with our masks on behind and say, hey, nobody knows us. We're saying, hey, we're new in town. Here, try some food. And so that was a bit of it was a challenge for sure. We also, during that time, really leaned on the support network that we have here in Indiana. So one of the driving forces of us moving back is that my mama lives in Lafayette still, and so she has a great network there. She's a local potter. She's well known in the community, and so we would do pre-order meals for all of her friends and then drive them up to Lafayette and pass them out in her driveway.
Oh,
So,
that's cool.
um, yeah, so we really had to kind of figure out where people had money to spend, where our market might be, people who knew us through my mother and her friends and might, help us get our feet on the ground.
That's awesome. So that
Hmm.
yeah. So the move back actually paid off because you had a built-in market when the world shut
Yes,
down.
exactly.
What else?
Hmm.
So what other things did you have to learn? So you go a year and a half,
Hmm.
and then you open up, and I assume you started to hire staff at that point.
Right, exactly. Yes. I think that's a big thing to know or to believe in is your staff. It's so important to treat the people who work for you in a way that is with respect. And, we chose this profession. This is our livelihood. This is our career. And many times people think of the restaurant industry and they think, oh, it's going to be people that are transient or between jobs, or it's not really a career. And instead, we wanted to make sure that all of our staff, all of our team can treat this as a full time career. And so, we offer health insurance, 100% coverage after 90 days to our full time team. We have a great kind of balance of paid time off and holidays off because of the way we plan things around our schedule. um, and of course, it's a job still. It's hard work, but we like to have fun too.
Yeah,
So taking care of your staff, I think, is one of the biggest lessons because they got to show up for you.
and that they do. And so one of the other differences about your restaurant is you don't have 300 tables in there. You got like 35.
Right. Yes. Yep. So back to kind of my history, the first restaurant that we opened was in a tourist town, Breckenridge, Colorado, 140 seats, lots of turnover there. The second restaurant we helped open was much smaller. It was in a really rundown strip mall, and it was about 35 seats. And so when we were there, that's when we kind of realized that if if we can't rely on anybody else, the two of us, he could cook for everyone and I could serve and it wouldn't be pretty, but we could make it work. And so we decided that that was the size of restaurant that we wanted to have. And actually, I think the even bigger driving force is that, we're not, obviously we're a restaurant, so we are in this to serve people food,
Right.
but um the bigger driving factor, or what makes us drive, is the connection we have with our guests. It's really about making relationships, creating relationships. And because the two of us love food and beverage and hospitality, it's natural to occur in a restaurant setting. But really, it's about way more than just serving a meal to people.
Yeah, and it's funny because, you started with a passion, and it sounds like you still have it, even after all
Hmm.
you've gone through.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, more and less on certain days after certain
Certain
strings
events,
of.
yeah.
Yes, exactly. I think, the number one advice to an aspiring chef slash restaurateur is that if you own a restaurant, a lot of what you do is not making food.
Yes.
It is, maintaining all of the equipment. We joke that, we're the custodians, we are the plumbers. We try to learn every aspect of every inch of this building so that when something inevitably breaks, we can fix it.
And so one of the other things that you guys do that's really kinda, as a diner, cool. Now I am a consumer, not a producer. I can't cook. I can barely make
Right.
frozen pizza, so, my wife laughs at me. But
Yeah.
you guys, your menu changes all the time.
Yes. Yes. So one of the other things we're really passionate about is traveling, learning about different cultures and cuisines. And we're also super passionate about locally grown produce, sourcing things from other small business owners in our same community. And of course, food, the farmers, crops that they grow, they produce, they change during the year, and so that's one driving factor of the changing menu. But the other is, it's a way to jump into something else, try something else different. And I think at first, when we first talked about changing the menu so frequently, we had people tell us, well, that's not going to work because people want to be able to order their favorite dish every time they come in. And we said, well, let's try it. And what we found is that, people might start the first time they come to the bistro, they might have a dish that they recognize, that they know it's comforting, it's a safe bet. And by the third or fourth time that they're dining with us, they're going for something that they aren't sure about or that they've never had. And that also allows us an opportunity to make that connection with the guest, to teach them something, to learn something. Maybe they had heard of this ingredient on one of their trips to Spain, and so they were excited to see it here. And all of those are opportunities to make those connections that really matter to us.
That's awesome. Yeah, it is, well, I have restaurants where I order the same thing. Yours
Yes,
is not
of
one
course.
of
There's a place
those.
for that.
Yeah. 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 Doesn't work for me. Um, so if 2025, Rachel, could sit
Mhm,
down the night before you take possession of your space in 2020,
mhm.
and you could say, "Listen, everything works out eventually. However,
Yes.
tomorrow when you go in, here's what you should actually do first." What would that
Right.
first thing be?
Oh, that's a tough question. I think that first thing is to get to know the community. And we were lucky that we were kind of forced into that before we even opened for dine in, because of during the pandemic. We got to know the community by, getting out there in front of them at the farmers market, testing out different dishes on our supper club, seeing how far we could push it. But doing that market research really helped inform our decisions after we actually opened.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Know your audience.
know your audience. It's not a bad place to start, and
Mhm,
you guys were well ahead on that. Um,
mhm,
Another question I have is, I'm sure you guys have people who are in the hospitality industry and not in other companies
mhm,
who come to you and
mhm,
say, "Hey, I'm thinking about starting my own business. Thinking about opening
mhm.
my own place." What How do
Yeah.
you handle that conversation? What do you say to them?
Whew. I mean, I think the number one piece of advice is make sure that you are in a you have a solid support network when you take on something new like this. Um, and that you completely trust and are aligned on the core values with your business partners. Um, with our experiences of opening restaurants in Colorado, it became pretty clear, especially in that first venture, that the partners and our vision did not align. And so, after kind of having that was the restaurant that I quit my regular great daytime job to go do, and then 3 months in, we realized that this is not going to work because of the basic differences we had in values. And so I think really knowing who you're getting into business with is important.
Yeah. That's not a bad conversation to have.
Mhm.
Um, any other advice that you would have for somebody who's thinking about starting a business or has just started a
I
business?
think, yeah, I think start small. We were very wise or aware of what we were spending money on in those first months and years. Let it grow organically. You don't need to start with the Rolls Royce. You can get a used car and build from there. And sometimes that's the way to do it, because cash flow is so important. And if you've spent all your money on the shiny new objects, then how are you going to make payroll?
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually good advice because
Yes.
there are people who think when they start the business, they start with the finished product that they're going to be in 10
Right.
years.
No, let it grow and listen. During that time, it's so important to kind of listen to what the community wants, what the space needs. We rearranged our dining room so many times trying to figure out how to lay out the tables, what would be the best experience. And I see, so many restaurants that open that are brand new that have all of the flashy finishes and the most expensive tabletops and chairs and light fixtures. We were able to source used equipment for in some regards. We bought some new, and the decor we just let be a little bit rustic. And I mean, the string lights that we have hanging up are from Costco, so it doesn't have to be the top of the line on everything.
No, it just has to fit. I mean, I like walking into your place because it all makes sense. So that's just me.
Yes, yeah.
So,
Mhm.
all right. Any other comments?
I don't think so. I think we covered a lot.
Yeah.
I think, you have to have the passion.
Yes.
I think as soon as you start losing passion, that's when you need to figure out how to get out, because burnout is real. And that's another reason why actually we take 2-week breaks every year. Because we know that we're gonna get to that point where it's not fun. And so we need a little break. Take those vacations. People sometimes say, well, don't are your guests, are your customers okay with you being
No,
closed?
we're
And
not.
it's like, hey, but if we're transparent about who we are and say, hey, like, we need a break, you're going to say, of course, you deserve a break.
No,
So
we're still going to be upset, but we're going to understand.
yes, yeah, transparency is
Yeah.
so important in our world. And I think one of the things that's stuck with me early on, and this is more of a marketing, but it's applicable to all business, all industries, is that people buy from people.
Yep.
And so you have to share yourself, to be yourself, and to be unapologetic, but also humble. Own a mistake if you make one. But yeah, people buy from people.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's a quick 25 minutes.
Woo, that was easy.
That was easy. So, first of all, thanks for joining us, Rachel. And
My
and
pleasure.
for everybody that's listening, if you want more information about Rachel or you want to get in touch with see their website, visit their Yelp site, book a table on
Yep.
Open Table, which requires a credit
Yes.
card. Um,
Or just email me or call me. I can make a
yeah,
reservation without that.
well, you shouldn't, but that's another story. Um,
Yes.
and having said all that, there'll be links in the show notes at defaultprofitable.com. Now, if you're listening, 3 ways you can help us. Hit subscribe, leave a review, or share an episode with somebody. Until next week, when we come back, stay focused, keep working, stay profitable.